In the last video in this series, we had seen the geocentric motion of Shukra. And I had explained that the Hindu astronomers assumed that Shukra was orbiting the Earth. So this is the orbit of Shukra, and clearly this is not correct, right? We know the reality is different. Reality, Shukra is orbiting Surya. But this is what Hindu astronomers assumed, and this model still produced wonderful results as far as evening star, morning star, retrograde motion, pentagram of Venus, all of that is concerned. This model worked. Now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into how the ancient Siddhantic astronomers actually worked with this model and how did they construct their mathematics from this model. The fundamental idea which they observed and on which they base their mathematics is that basically you will always find Shukra is in the vicinity of Surya in the raśi manḍala. So if Surya is here, Shukra will be somewhere here. Shukra will never be here when Surya is here. So Shukra is kind of, can I say, hanging out or hanging around the sun. Maybe east or maybe west of the sun, that keeps changing. So this morning evening star and the fact that Shukra is near the sun anchored the mathematics of the Siddhantic astronomers, specifically starting with Surya Siddhanta. So what they did was, I'm going to stop this simulation, reset it to day 0. So here's how they reasoned. What they said was, look, if you want to locate the position of Shukra in the raśi manḍala, you first locate the sun. And you start by assuming Shukra is also in the same ecliptic longitude. If sun is at Vrishabha 23.25, Shukra is also Vrishabha 23.25, you assume. Then you apply a correction to that to account for whether Shukra is ahead in the raśi manḍala or behind, whether it is eastward or westward. So a two-step process. You locate Surya and then apply a correction. Assume Surya's position is the position of Shukra and then correct it in a second step to achieve the real position of Shukra. So now I will show you the terminology which they used in Siddhantic astronomy, and it gets quite interesting. So the first idea that you assume that Shukra ecliptic longitude is the same as Surya, they said the Madhyama position of Shukra, the symbol is Shukra, Venus, it's shown here. So Madhyama Shukra is the same as Madhyama Surya. Now what does Madhyama mean? Madhyama means the mean position of Shukra. What is mean position? I spoke about this once in an earlier video. Let's say you travel from Bangalore to Chennai in 6 hours. So that means your mean average velocity is 50 kilometers per hour. Average velocity. Sometimes you'll go faster, sometimes you'll go slower, but average is 50 kilometers per hour. So at the end of 1 hour, you are going to be at Hosur. Mean position at the end of 1 hour of your car will be Hosur. But it will not be the true position. True position depends on traffic. You might have gone past Hosur or you might not have reached Hosur. That depends on the traffic pattern. But the mean position at the end of 1 hour is based on the mean velocity, average velocity. So same way, average velocity of Shukra dictates that Shukra's position, Madhyama position, is the same as that of the sun. This is an assumption. The idea is it's always going to be close to the sun. But something is pulling Shukra forward in this case from Vrishabha to Karkata. Or it's on the border of Mithuna and Karkata at 29.8522. Something is pulling it forward. What is pulling it forward? So ancient astronomers said, basically they said, we don't know what is pulling it forward, and hence we will say that there is a divine intervention. that there is a heavenly body called Śīgroccha, which is sitting here, and this devatha is exerting a pulling force on Shukra. What should have been here was pulled forward here towards this devatha. And that devata is called Śīgroccha of Shukra. Śīgroccha is a compound term. It means Śīgra Uccha. Śīgra is fast, Uccha is peak or apex. So it is the apex of fast motion. And because this Śīgroccha is pulling Shukra, the Madhyama position changed from here to here. It's still not the Spashta position. It's still not exact because I am still working with circular orbits, not elliptical orbit. So that problem I have still not addressed. But it is no longer just Madhyama, it is Śīgra Phala Madhyama. Śīgra Phala means the result of the action of Śīgroccha, that is the Phala of Śīgra. So Śīgra Phala Madhyama has come to Mithuna 29.8522. So Śīgra Phala Madhyama caused Shukra to be pulled forward. Dhana. Dhana means wealth. That means plus, positive, forward. It got pulled forward by 36.6022 degrees. So Śīgra Phala Madhyama is 36.6022 degrees Dhana. The same epsilon, we have already seen this epsilon. In English, this is known as elongation. Here, it's called Śīgra Phala Madhyama. It's Śīgra Phala, the result of the action of Śīgroccha. And this is much more accurate than this. Obviously, Shukra is not with Surya. Shukra is ahead. And this is indicating that. This is the concept they worked with. So they said there is a devata sitting in the raśi manḍala called Śīgroccha. Now, initially when I heard this talk about a devata sitting in the raśi manḍala, I felt this is like very strange. This is weird. This is positively silly. But it's not that silly as you may think. I will show you in a moment. But before I go forward, I want to actually show you the Sanskrit shlokas where this is specified in Surya Siddhanta in chapter 2, Spashtadhikaraha. How to calculate the Spashta position of a planet, meaning the accurate, true position of a planet, of a graha. So it starts by saying, very first verse, forms of time of invisible shape stationed in the zodiac called Śīgroccha, Manḍoccha and Pata are causes of the motion of the planets. I am specifically now talking about only this Śīgroccha. There are two more. The planets attached to these beings by cords of air are drawn away by them with the right and left hand forward or backward according to nearness towards their own place. The planets are attached to these beings by cords of air and they are drawn away forward or backward. So you're talking about morning star, evening star phenomena towards their own place, meaning towards the place where the Śīgroccha is residing, is sitting. A wind, moreover, called pravaha, impels them towards their own uccha. What this is essentially saying is, even if Śīgroccha is not pulling, there is another force called pravaha which is continuously moving these planets at a mean velocity, 50 kilometers per hour. But Śīgroccha is making it either go faster or slower. Now this pravaha impels them towards their own uccha. Being drawn away forward and backward, they proceed by a varying motion. Now you understand my car analogy. Mean velocity is provided by pravaha, but the traffic conditions are provided by Śīgroccha. Now the so-called uccha, when in the half orbit in front of the planet, in the raśi manḍala, draws the planet forward. In like manner, when in the half orbit behind the planet, it draws it backward. When the planets drawn away by their uccha move forward in their orbits, the amount of motion so called is called dhana. I already showed you dhana. And when they are backward, it is called runa. Runa means debt. So it is minus, it's a negative. This is what I am modeling in my geometric model. So here is Śukra. First of all, Pravaha is continuously moving Shukra in the same speed as Surya, but Śīgroccha is pulling Shukra towards itself by its right hand, left hand, according to nearness, etc., etc. But wherever Śīgroccha is, Shukra will be pulled towards that. In this case, Śīgroccha is in the half orbit in front, so the phala is dhana. And all of this implies that Śīgroccha is not standing still. Śīgroccha is moving. And as long as Śīgroccha is in the half orbit in front of the mean planet is here. I have not shown that. Assume mean planet is the sun itself. Now Śīgroccha is going to cross over, and that's when retrograde motion is happening. And you will see that from here onwards, the dhana will switch to runa. Now Śīgroccha is in the half orbit behind the planet. So it has become runa. Now clearly it's in the half orbit behind. The mean position is in Tula, whereas Śīgroccha is in Vrishabha. It is behind, with 180 degrees being the cutoff point. So this is what the Surya Siddhanta is talking about. That this Śīgroccha is a devatha, that it is exerting a force. Basically, it's their stylized way of saying we don't know why it's going east and west. So it's a divine intervention. And the divine being, the heavenly being, we call it Śīgroccha. It's actually a mathematical point on which trigonometry is built afterwards. It's a mathematical devatha, trigonometric devatha. Once again, you will find it's going to shift into the half orbit in front. Right now, it's in the half orbit behind. And somewhere here, it's going to cross over, and you will find the runa will switch to dhana. Now, Śīgroccha is in the half orbit in front of the planets. So this is the basic conceptual geometric model which they used in Siddhantic astronomy. But the question arises, okay, now the Śīgroccha is moving, at what speed is the Śīgroccha moving? How does the Śīgroccha relate to Earth, Shukra, Surya? There must be some reason that Śīgroccha is moving like this at this particular speed, right? How is Śīgroccha's position defined? And that I am going to discuss in the next episode.